The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
I guess sometimes I feel as though I really don't have anybody.
Oh, Alex, come on. What am I, huh? Think of me as your mom.
How many kids call their mom Ms. R?
Yeah, well, I admit I never planned on having another kid at my age. Especially one who was your age.
Sure. You got all the family you can handle. And lately with weddings, new grandkid, new son-in-law, new boyfriend.
Alex, I'm sorry. I have obviously been incredibly insensitive. I didn't even return those phone calls from the school. I have never made a total commitment to you. Oh, Alex, I love...
Oh, no. You just feel sorry for me.
Not as sorry as someone else feels for you.
Who?
You. Did I ever give you my 10-foot wall speech?
I don't think so.
My dad used to tell it to me. All my kids get it, sooner or later. The world, according to my dad, is a 10-foot wall. Some people don't seem to have any trouble getting over it. They've got a lot of things going for them. They're smart, they're strong, they've got a family who's there for them. Other people don't have it so easy. They're poor, uneducated, the wrong color, the wrong sex. Maybe they don't even know who their parents are. But if they're going to make it in this life, they have to get over that wall.
Life isn't fair.
And don't you forget it. You want to know what my dad would say to you?
What?
He would have said, I'm real sorry your dad died. And I'm sorry your mother doesn't give a damn, but those are the facts, kid. Nobody is going to lower that wall. So stop feeling so sorry for yourself. And stop doing crazy things to get attention. And stop screwing up your life. And figure out a way to get over that wall.
It's not easy, Ms. R. When you don't belong anyplace.
Oh, damn it, Alex, you belong.
Where?
Here. And if you didn't before, you do now. Come here. Okay. All right, sweetie. Okay. Alex, come here. Bend over. Now, this is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you.
Isn't there an easier way to get into this family?
No. Okay.
Get yourselves together. Right. Stand up and live your life. Right. Get yourselves together. Right. Hands up high.
Welcome to the Rise Above show. I am Joe Peroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
Do you have any...
Yeah, I want to make sure that we thank Jay Jung from City Athletic Club for sponsoring our show. And, of course, the Rise Above show. And we're live at WWDBTV.com every Thursday at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. This week we don't have a guest, but normally we try to schedule some guests to come on. If you're looking to help us advertise for your business, we would love to have you on board so we can help you get business and get your product or service out there. So you give me a holler if you need some help with that. We're always looking for ways to help everybody out. What else was there? I think that was it.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right.
And then I have my little scoop on my turmeric.
All right, so we're going to go with the Heidi's Health Tips.
Is that what we
starting back
decided to
then?
call it?
I think that's what you decided to call it. Yeah, we
Heidi's
had
Health
guests the
Tips?
last couple of weeks, so we didn't have a chance. But now you got a chance, so...
Yeah. Well, I
What-
think
what
the
am I
weeks
gonna
that we
learn
have
about?
guests, I don't have to do this. But the weeks that we don't, we're gonna do it. I think people
cool.
seem to want the information, which I think is,
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, you can Google it. But
Teach me some.
so anyway,
We'll talk about Googling later.
this week I wanted to talk about turmeric or turmeric. I'm
Yeah,
not
how do
sure
you say it?
how you
Turmeric?
pronounce that. I think it depends on where you're from.
Turmeric.
Or- I'm not really sure what the proper pronunciation of that is. I guess it would be like some of the other things that we have to figure out how to say, like Oregon, Nevada, tomato. I don't know.
Yeah.
So-
All right, we'll just go with T.
So turmeric is a natural drug. It's not only a spice that we can add into our chicken and any dish that you want. You can add it in there. It's almost tasteless. You can't really taste it unless you put a lot of it in there. So I usually season all of our meat dishes with it and my eggs. I think you could probably put it. I have put it on salads too, so you can put it on top of your salad if you want. And it comes in a mustard form, because turmeric is in mustard. It also comes in a ground form in a shaker. And you can also buy turmeric pills in the health food store. So if you don't want to put it on your food because you have some type of problem with that, digesting it, or you just don't, you can taste it and you don't like the taste, you can get it in pill form. And you can get turmeric in mustard.
Right.
So when you mustard your food. And
By the way, the other day, I was trying to make a protein drink, and I put a bunch of that...
I have to get something, so you keep talking. I'm going to go with my little bag over here. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
You keep talking.
Show
I'll
and
be
tell?
Yeah.
All right, so... I'm making this protein drink, and I was like, okay, I like cinnamon, so I put a whole bunch of cinnamon in there. Until I realized that Heidi had switched out the thing, and it was the turmeric.
I like to do that to you once in a while.
So I'm like, well, it doesn't taste bad. It just doesn't taste like cinnamon.
It doesn't taste like, well, it's not. It's kind of tasteless. If you put too much turmeric in there, and you can add that in with your garlic and all your other herbs and spices that you like to use. So you don't have to have it primarily turmeric. Indian food is flavored a lot with curry and turmeric, and that's what people taste in their cuisines. So this was the Trader Joe's brand that we use at our house.
It looks just like the cinnamon.
Yeah, it's turmeric, and this is Trader Joe's brand, but you can get, there's all kinds of turmeric and other companies out there. This I bought from the vitamin shop, and it's in a pill form. Pill form, everybody, can you see that? And then we have mustard, which has turmeric, which is curcumin, which I've never been able to say that word. Do you know how to say it?
I do now.
But that's the
I'm gonna try.
that's the main thing in turmeric that has the medicinal medicine properties of turmeric that it makes it healing. So you can buy it in a mustard form, you can buy it in a powder, and you can also buy it in a pill. Let's see. Move these back a little so we can see them on the thing, TV. Okay. So I'm going to go through really quickly what they're good for, what the turmeric does. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps with it's an antidepressant, Prozac. It helps aid with people going through chemotherapy, and I'll explain in a minute why. Anticoagulants, aspirin, painkillers, diabetes drugs, metformin, and whatever, however you say that, arthritis medications, inflammatory bowel disease drugs, and cholesterol drugs, Lipitor, and steroids. So, just very quickly, the anticoagulants, antiplatelets, medical intervention, if you're taking aspirin, ibuprofen, turmeric, let's see, it aids with that. I don't know, you can take that, instead of taking a bunch of ibuprofen and painkillers, you can incorporate that into your supplement program to help, so you don't have to take so many pharmaceutical drugs. Now, turmeric doesn't cure diseases, but it's an alternative for people that don't want to take a lot of prescription toxic type drugs. So you can include that.
It's more preventative then.
Yeah, it's a more preventive thing. It helps as an antidepressant. they did studies on animals, and they found that turmeric does help with depression. So you can, again, add that into what you're already doing to help with your symptoms. Or I've heard people get completely off their prescription drugs and go homeopathic and be able to get relief. One of the things I like turmeric for is the inflammation properties. And I notice without a doubt that when I stop taking either the turmeric pills, they're sometimes more convenient than the additive is. I notice significantly, because I have arthritis in my hands a little bit, and my feet, and my knees. I mean, I don't know. It's probably because, I don't know what it's from. Could be genetics, but
Age?
I
mean, unfortunately.
Although I'm
just saying.
still kind of young.
I get that.
But I'm just saying, I notice that when I'm not on we run out of it and I don't buy it for a month or so, I kind of, when I start using it again, I go, oh, it does help. But doesn't mean I can't take a Motrin once in a while, which I will, or an Aleve. If I have a lot of pain, I will still take that, but it's not like I got to keep dosing with it. They've found that it helps with people with diabetes and diabetes management, because it helps lower your blood sugar. So if you have diabetes and you're on medication, it helps with that. If when they talk about it in your intestines, your stomach, we have good antibiotics in our stomach, and we have bad ones. And what the turmeric does is it helps balance out the enzymes in your stomach so that you can digest foods better. So that's where it aids in your digestion. And it's a cholesterol regulator. So we've heard of red rice yeast is another supplement that doctors have prescribed along with pharmaceutical drugs to help with the intervention of high cholesterol. And they're finding now that turmeric with the red yeast is also an alternative to try before you go on pharmaceutical drugs such as Lipitor. It helps with your cholesterol. And it's a painkiller because why? We just said so. You're getting quizzed. Why is it a painkiller?
It's anti-inflammatory.
Very good. He was paying attention. Yes, thumbs
Did I
up,
get
Joe.
that? As a
You
matter of
passed the
fact,
test.
while you're speaking of anti-inflammatory, while you're doing that, I'm going to see if I can. How many do I need?
I think it's 2.
I'll figure it out.
But it helps with lupus, also rheumatoid arthritis, and scleroderma. So, okay, what is the other thing it said here that I found? There's other things that they haven't proven. One would be acne, delayed, Okay, these are the side effects. It could cause acne, asthma, cancer, cataracts, delayed wound healing, and diabetes onset, which doesn't make sense to me, but let me see. The side effects from this tumor, that's not, what I just read you is not true. Those are some of the things that it helps with, because I said that's a contradiction. I just said it was good for that.
I was thinking that.
Okay, it also helps with insomnia, indigestion, kidney and thyroid issues, mood disturbances, which we just talked about, depression, bipolar, irritability, rapid mood swings, muscle weakness, a nausea, your risk of infection goes down if you take turmeric, rapid heartbeat, and thinning skin, which as people age, your skin gets really thin. So there's another important reason to be on turmeric as you age, because it helps with our skin elasticity. You'd have to take really large amounts to get the side effects that they're going to list here. So they're saying you'd have to be really almost ODing on the turmeric, but the side effects
who would do that?
be nausea, which makes sense. If you eat too much of anything, you're going to get sick, or diarrhea. Increased risk of bleeding, and hypertension, lower blood pressure. It could lower your blood pressure. I already have low blood pressure, so I guess I would know if it did that if I passed out. Then I couldn't take it. And it can cause uterine contractions in pregnant women, and it increases your menstrual flow. Why?
I don't know, but
Because
I wouldn't have that problem.
If it brings down inflammation, which means it kind of contracts the blood vessels, that means you would bleed more. So that's the reason for that. And that's it. That's all I've got for you, but I just wanted to share that particular, I guess it comes under a supplement because in a pill form, and it comes in a spice. Turmeric is actually a spice that they've done a lot of research on, that it's good for many things. And it's one of those
Awesome.
spices that nobody thinks about, ever. So said it before you go grabbing for the ibuprofen. Get some turmeric.
Well, we have plenty, so.
Or grab some mustard.
And I just took 2, so.
Okay. So that's all I've got on that one. So hopefully some people got some information on that. And I made sense. I kind of messed up with the side effect thing that there.
That's all right. So you want to move on to the next part?
Sure.
Okay, so the next part here. Now, what I want this to be, and it's not just going to happen today, I want this like long, sprawling dialogue about social media, because there's so many different aspects to it. And one of the questions I had was, does social media actually make us less social? And it sounds like, well, that can't be true, you know, and that's kind of where the whole world is going, right? Social media, we got this Facebook, we got, I don't know, what do you call them, Snapchat, everything else. Twitter, and just the internet in general. Everybody Googles things now, and I get it. I love a lot of that stuff, and I could see the positives. But recently, I've been doing a lot of therapy on young people, you know, 15, 16, 17, and younger. And oddly enough, again, not to sound disparaging, but I'm just going to tell you what I see. They're virtually all identical. They're kind of like robotic drones. And I'm thinking, well, why is that? And you start talking to them, they don't know anything about physical activity. They're scared to death of life. Their anxiety is through the roof. And I'm like, I didn't even know what the word anxiety was until I was, I don't know, in my 30s, and I looked it up. I didn't even know, like, what does anxious mean? Like, I've never even used the term. I've never used the words overwhelmed. You know, like, I've never said that. Like, there's a test coming up, I'm overwhelmed with anxiety. Like, these terms and words and the way they think, very, very interesting. And then when you try to help them, they think that they're helpless and they're scared. One particular person, that I'm trying to think of right now, I was like, what do you like in life? You know, what do you do? He couldn't come up with anything. And that's basically all of them that I've seen. And it's like, okay, what do you love, though? It's like, well, I get up, I get on my Facebook. Well, what do you like about that? Well, I like when I get likes. Okay. So just the very basic of therapy would tell you that if you're externally validated and you can only be happy by if other people tell you that you're good, you are not going to have a good life. And I'm not making fun of anybody, because we all have this a lot of people have this thing where we want to, you know, make fun of like millennials and all this. I get the jokes, I understand it. I mean, you know, you see them and you get it. But I'm not here to make fun of them. It's like, it was kind of heartbreaking. Like, it was sad. It's sad to be in front of these kids that are so afraid of life. But, and you can't I don't want to say can't, but it's very difficult to pull them out.
But you have to go back to where, this is where I'm going to come into this with the mothering thing. Because as a society, you know, the helicoptering our kids, giving them everything at a very young age, cell phones, computers, leaving them at home alone to the TV
Absolutely.
And their devices, you know, that generation created these millenniums, or whatever we want to call them. So they've made them, I wouldn't say they made them that way, but they kind of made them that way because they've never. And the other thing is the whole like thing you said before about, oh, well, I get my validation from the likes. Because they're used to their parents telling them their whole lives, I'm awesome, you're awesome. Oh my God, honey, somebody said something to you bad, I'm going to go talk to that teacher. And
Absolutely.
I'm going to, you know, so these kids, that's how they get their value, by being told how great they are.
Right, without having done anything great.
Right, and
you
we
know,
noticed
that's the thing.
in the workforce, like in the salon. I was talking to a girl the other day, and we noticed with a lot of the young stylists coming up, not everybody, I want to make sure I put this out there because people get offended, and they'll say, well, you're making it sound like all young kids are lazy, or that they're all, no, I'm not. I'm saying that what I've been exposed to, which seems to be the majority.
Can I throw in something just real quick before you keep going? I only want to do this for just one reason. You and I are a little older, and we've been raised by good parents and a good generation. What you just said now is interesting, because I have to talk like that too. Every time you open up your mouth and want to show incredible wisdom and the knowledge that you have learned, you have to say, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to act like I'm making fun of you. I don't want to offend you. So what we're doing right now is okay because they need to hear us, because they'll turn us off if they hear one word that they don't like, because, oh my God, it might offend them. But that is part of the way they were grown up and part of social media.
Being a mother myself, I mean, I have a 21-year-old girl who, you know, she's great. She's awesome. This is not anything negative. But I have to say that when she was growing up, she had everything. You know, she had the cell phone. She had the laptop at a certain age. She was left, you know, when she was a little bit older, when I had to work or, you know, whatever the thing was. You know, and as a parent, you think you're doing the right thing because you want them to be in the same groove as their friends. You don't want your kid to be the kid that doesn't have the phone, that doesn't have the laptop, that doesn't have, you know, the backpack that everybody, you know, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
And you know what, if there's parents out there that don't fall into that, peer pressure, if you want to call it that, I think that's awesome. I don't know that many that don't. So, because we as parents, we try to do the right thing. We don't realize, though, that when we're doing these things, you're not building self-esteem when you're, you know, getting your kids' clothes out for them. You're telling them what sports they're going to play. You're basically micromanaging and helicoptering their life and shoving things down their throat that they can't manage to make a decision. So now we have adults out there, you know, some young adults, not all, that they can't function because if you say to them, that wasn't done right, this is the way I want it done, you know, especially if they're helping me out,
All right. Yeah,
they
tell
get
me about
offended.
that.
They get offended. They go, well, excuse me, but how long have I been doing hair? 30? And how many years have you been doing hair? 2 days? I think that I would have a little bit more knowledge in this area than you. It doesn't make me better, and I make that clear. I say this to all the young stylists, just because I just have a couple more days experience than you. So I make that clear. I don't think I'm better than them because I have 30 years experience on them, because there's some really rockin', amazing young people out there that do some amazing hairdos, and they have amazing customer skills. But I've noticed it's a trend that if you try to help them by being constructively criticism to them, that, you know, my client that pays me, let's you know, I tell them,
Right.
They pay me, they don't pay you, and I hired you to help me. So when a client comes to me and they complain and they say, this girl didn't barely touch my head when she shampooed me, I don't, you know, I don't feel like I got a head wash and then I have to go back and rewash it. You're not really saving me time. And then the killer part of it is they give you attitude when you correct them, and they still expect to get paid for something they didn't do. So, you know, and I notice it in the personal training thing too. I haven't been in it that long. I've only been doing it, what, a year, 2 years? But I can honestly say it's really no different than doing hair in the aspect of you've got the same type of mentality. And again, not all of them. You can pick out the young trainers that are going to have longevity, and we see them at City Gym. The ones that are still there right now are the ones that have longevity. They care about their jobs. They like working around the experienced trainers. They like the environment. They're willing to learn. The people that kind of fall off the end of it, those kids, they just want to be told how great they are, and they want to be validated all the time by overcharging people. And, you know, basically, and even in the hair profession, they do the same thing. They overcharge. They gouge the hell out of people because they think they're so awesome, and then after a while they wonder why they don't have any clients. Well, you're not that great because I'm down the street doing hair, and I've been doing it a lot longer than you. So if they sit in my chair and I'm not charging them $300 to do the same work that you're doing, and I'm not saying they're not worth it. I'm not saying I'm not worth $300.
Right.
But, you know, people want value. They want to feel good, you know, the whole thing. And these kids, some of them, I keep saying the word some because I don't want to say all, and being that kind of, I was that kind of mother. You know, most moms won't admit that because they don't want to be, you know, it seems like a put down. But in my situation, I'm not putting myself down. In the situation I was in, working, being a full-time career mom, a lot of things I did to make my job easier. Here, Ava, look at this while mommy does that. Here, play a game on your laptop while mommy finishes dinner. So we kind of do these things in a way where we don't realize that we're really.
Yeah, I hear that,
creating an issue.
and I've heard that from a lot of parents, and it's true. And I like that you brought it up, because what we have here is kind of like it's kind of like a perfect storm of negativity, so to speak. Like, nobody did anything on purpose to make it bad, right? Like, we have overcaring parents that are helicoptering and watching every move of the child. That's part of it. And then we have this social media where you can get everything with just one little touch of a finger and you get something. Basically, there's the information. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, and it's hard to bring it up because, again, number one, you know, and you know this, and I'll say it to everybody else. During this time of year, I feel a little weird because my mother's birthday would be March 26th. Here we go. March is a tough month for me. So I look back on how I was raised, you know, and I look and I go, my mother was such a good mom. She was so strong. She was so caring. And I look at today of what's going on, and I'm like, my mother would be just so angry at what's happening with these kids. They're, and I don't mean this in a bad way again.
Let me add
They're
this to that
helpless.
conversation, because the mothers from back then, and we've been watching Alice, and we've been watching a lot of these old shows.
That's why I put them
I'm
on.
going to say this right now for all the women out there right now, and this is not a thing against men or anything, but I will tell you this: women today work harder, if just not as hard, since that movement, Alice movement, and the Mary Tyler Moore thing, and all these shows that came out about the single mother, the working girl, the whole thing. Every woman that's out there now that's working, she's doing a million different jobs. She changes her hat about 6 times a day. So we're working, we're probably working harder in some senses. But
Agreed.
But I want to say,
Yeah.
ever since that time era, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but women have been working right along with men in whatever jobs.
No,
contribute.
well, and listen, you have a partner here, right? Like, the reason why I picked those is because I do have a very strong attraction, and I just want to push that people know that. I love strong women. The 2 that I picked were shows that, of the many that I would watch with my mother. Bonnie Franklin in that one scene, if we go back over it, I hope you do. I put that on there because she admitted when she was wrong to the child in that. That takes guts, which I don't see a lot of parents doing that now these days. They can admit that they're human. And then she went on to not read him, but basically tell him the truth about life, and said it with no uncertain terms. Stop crying, stop complaining, life is hard, get used to it, and you need to man up. And that's the other thing that not just women, but men, fathers and mothers are not doing today. They're coddling their kids. And back then, I didn't see any coddling. And in the other scene was Alice, and I put that on there because my mother was a waitress. And at the end of that 1-minute scene was the boy putting his mother's feet in the water to make sure that her feet were okay for the next day of going to work.
You don't see kids doing that today. My daughter wouldn't be putting my feet in water.
Can you
She'd
stop
be
for a
like, "Get out
second?
there."
Yes, and that was me. I cared about my mom being able to work 16-hour shifts, and I did my part. And even though I might have been a little kid, and what do you do at that age? Not much. But if what you can do is care at that age, that's enough. So I wanted to put that out there because there was a big difference in the 70s, right? These women, and I know that those are TV shows, but they were very representative of the times. That's why this TV shows in the 70s were amazing. But what you had was women saying, not just that they wanted equal rights, that was there, but some of them were like saying, okay, I know how tough life is going to be as a single mom raising kids, but you know what, I'm not going to take it anymore. And they went out on their own, and that is the strength of it. What I'm seeing today is a lot of women just saying, I don't need a man, let's just have a kid and raise it without a man. There's a big difference. And so I want to put that out there too, is that a lot of it comes down to parenting, but they didn't have social media back then. And sometimes you sit back and you go, at least I do, I look and I go, wow, social media, it's great. I love Facebook. I love Google. I love all these things. And then you cut back and you go, hold it. It's like watching somebody and haven't seen them in a long time and you don't realize how much they've aged. Like, I didn't realize how negative society has become for kids. Like, you don't look at it. So what I did was I started looking at the 1970s and putting numbers to it so I can really put it in concrete fashion for people to understand. Here's something about social media. You can look up and you could find many studies that will tell you or suggest that about 10% of Americans right now are walking around with PTSD due to 9/11 16 years ago. But here's the thing, when you keep seeing a same video over and over and over again, it keeps putting it into your head that there's death and destruction, and you don't know who's around the corner, who's going to hurt you, and you feel unsafe. That's just with 9/11. Every time you turn on the TV, we have a president talking about keeping us safe, and it scares people. And then they talk about this might happen, that might happen. And if you're a good parent, you want to take care of your kids. And so everybody is walking around with this low-level PTSD, being hyper vigilant, and they don't even want their kids to go out on the streets and play anymore. So what I did was, I don't know if this is going to make anybody feel better, but it is the Rise Above show, and I can only give you the facts, and you can do with the facts of what you want. So I can just put them out there for you. Here's something that's very interesting that I pulled from the 1970s. Now, we're supposedly living in this world that's totally unsafe, that our kids can't go outside and play, so we put them in front of a computer screen. Okay, the murder rates, the rape rates, and violent crime in the 70s, way higher than it is today. So the fear is really unwarranted. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but it just means that why are we in such a culture of hypervigilance when it's not happening? The women and men who raised children in the 70s were much stronger, much more powerful human beings. They were raising kids. We were raised as, say, latchkey or free range. That gave us self-esteem. You know, now at this helicoptering, these kids don't even know who they are. Here's something interesting. 9/11 happened now 16 years ago, and everybody is afraid of the next big bombing of what's going to happen. This is outrageous, this number I'm going to give you, but it's totally true. Between 1970 and 1971, there was an 18-month period in the early 70s. This is inside the United States. We had 2,500 bombings in the U.S. done by liberal groups and conservative groups. The Jewish Defense League was doing it. We had the Black Panthers, and there was all other ones. So you were getting it from all sides. 2,500 over a period of a year and a half. That's just bombings. You want to talk about hijackings? If you want to look at the golden era, if there is such a thing in violence, there were 112 domestic hijackings between 1970 and 79. That's like 1 out of every 5 days. Now, can you imagine if that happened today? This country would stop in a heartbeat. We wouldn't let our kids leave the house. Everybody would be homeschooled. And John, so fear is a way to control. I absolutely agree. And this is why it's so hard for me to talk about this, is because I forget what philosopher said, but this one philosopher was talking about, he goes, and in the end, society will be pulled down by the people who actually want it to. Like, they will acquiesce. They will submit to fear. They will want other people to take over. They will willingly give up all their rights. And I think that's what we're having today. These numbers that I gave you on terrorism, those numbers are so incredibly massive. It's like more than 1,000% higher than what it is today. Yet today you walk around and everybody's scared of being hurt. It's like, are you kidding me? Let's just relax. We are safer than we have ever been. You know, we're worried about, all these people coming over the border. We need to deport them. In the 70s, you could pretty much get over the border anytime you wanted. It was way worse than it is now. Like, I just don't understand. When I was, 7 years old, 1972, in the Olympics, the Israeli team was killed. The whole, 11 people from the Israeli team were killed on live TV. You do that today, they would cancel the Olympics forever. What happened that we turned into such pussies, basically, right? I mean, that really is it. Our country just fell. And that's why I want to keep, there's so much information here. And it's like people don't want to look at it. They also don't want to look at, has society really gone down? Because I could sound like, and I know I do for some people, they go, well, you know, every generation has something negative to say about a generation before. Or, yeah, and I get that. And I could sound like the get off your lawn guy, right? You know, and go, okay, he's just complaining. But listen, the numbers don't lie.
Get off my rocks. Rocks. Get off my rocks.
The numbers don't lie. Right? So we have about 10% of the people with PTSD that from just watching TV. Come on. You need to get over it.
But look what they're watching on TV. There's nothing on TV anymore. What do we watch? Walking Dead and a bunch of, I don't know, a lot of these shows that are on anymore. I don't know. I don't watch them, so I don't know what
and that's,
the attraction is either. But
you know, and that's another good thing too, because when you talk about entertainment or any field, you can compare any decade you want, but if we take the 70s, let's just say, because I'm throwing that in, compared to now, my thing is I'm from an athletic background. I don't really care about much other than winning, right? I want to know what the scoreboard is. So somebody says right now, we live in the greatest time because of social media, and it's really good. I can connect to friends and this and that. I'm like, you're not connecting to anybody. There is more depression in this country now. Right now, as we speak, if you're a millennial, 25% of them are on or have been on psychotropic meds to deal with their anxiety and depression. How are we doing? 1 out of 5 is they're medicating on their own with marijuana. Now, here's something interesting. Someone's going to say, but you're talking about the 70s. Didn't they use marijuana in the 70s? And I'll say, you know, they did. But here's, as John, but here's the difference. And John, you could throw in on this if you want, because I know I'm going to be right here. There's a difference, right? I don't drink and I don't use marijuana. But if you want to do it, I've got no problem. But here's the thing. In the 60s and 70s, it was perfectly normal to have a good time with your friends, your girlfriend, and just get a little buzz, have some fun, party. Talk to your friends, drink a little, smoke a little, listen to some good music, and we're good. Am I right?
Perfect example of that was on election night. We had the opportunity to interview Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong.
Yeah.
Now, he was everything you would think he would be.
Right.
And nothing like what you would think. And one of the things that he was talking about, he says, everyone thinks that, you know, I smoke marijuana until I pass out or, you know, whatever. He says, I'm a one-hit guy. He says, I'll have one hit, just kind of take the edge off, just a tiny bit of a buzz, and that's it.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's what a lot of people do and are doing, but the media and the government and everybody likes to get us afraid of all of this shit because then they can control us.
Right. No, I agree.
And that's what's happening to the kids.
Yeah, it's kind of like in your time, let's say, because you're a little older than me. Were you on camera for that? No.
No.
He just gave me the finger. But listen, there is always a generation of people, or there has been, that would drink a little and have a good time. We all understand that. Even though I don't do it, it doesn't matter. I understand it totally. But right now we have a whole different animal. Right now we have a bunch of young people, and they do marijuana not to hang out with their friends and socialize and have a good time and get down with their favorite girl. They're not doing that. They're doing it to obliterate themselves because they can't freaking stand their life. And what they do is, between some marijuana, which is very mild, by the way, compared to the other stuff, they're actually getting real strong prescription meds, but there is a heroin epidemic, which will knock you out in like 10 seconds. There's nothing social going on there. They hate their life. They hate who they are. They don't know who they are. And I'm not making fun. It's sad. And I'm working with these people trying to help them. And it's really hard to help people when they have no structure.
But do you think that the heroin thing is a result of all of the people that are taking opioids? And look, you get the same experience on heroin that you do from opioids,
Right.
but it's a hell of a lot cheaper.
That's true.
And so these people are self-medicating themselves with the heroin, and then bang, you're hooked. Then you're fucked.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, screwed.
Right. But it's interesting that you say that. Yes, people are being prescribed this, and they are being overprescribed. That's true. But here's the thing, too. Would it be normal in your era or my era to be taken to a doctor for our uncontrollable depression and anxiety? No. It's these kids already starting off with helicopter parents that don't instill self-esteem. They don't give them the chance to. And then they put a computer screen in front of them, and so they have no activity in their life. You know, there's a kinesiology law, I guess you can call it a kinesiology law, so there is no learning without activity. There's no learning without movement. So when you put a child in front of a screen and go, look at the tree, I'm telling you, every living thing needs to connect with its universe. A screen is not it. There's no smell. There's no taste. And we used to eat berries off of trees when I was a kid. We used to hang in trees. We used to fall out of trees. I would skin my knee. I would laugh at my friend who looked like he got hurt. These things are not happening anymore, and it's normal. If you don't think it's normal, well, look at your animals that when they're puppies. They play. They beat each other up. This is normal. You need to do that. To go back to your question for a second, yes, it can start off, but it starts off from very young. Young children should not be just destroyed with anxiety. So then their parents say, I don't know what to do with them. And so instead of, because our culture the way it is, I say, join a gym, go out for a walk, have a picnic with your girlfriend in the park. Do something. That would get rid of your anxiety. But no, they don't do that. And that's why I am saying it, not to make fun of them. These things you can do. Don't take your kid to a doctor to get doped up. Because then when they finish and they're not prescribed it anymore, then they go out and get heroin. And yes, they get hooked, but they get hooked on not the drug as much as they do getting hooked on feeling good because they freaking hate who they are when they're straight. You ask these kids, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know, like when I was 5 or 6 years old, my parents were already saying, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? That's a normal question for you, right? John, for you?
Yep.
Do people even ask kids that anymore? Not that I know of. They have no idea what they want to do. They have no idea who they are. They have no. It's because part of it is Facebook too, right? Like they want to get more likes, but they don't want to do anything in their life. So what they do is they go, okay, I'm going to create a false self. I'm going to put this picture out there. I'm going to doctor my picture, Photoshop it, whatever they call it, whatever lens they use, and they fix the picture up. Here's another rule of therapy. If you're not your authentic self, you are never going to live a good life. Ever. Period. End of story. So if you see your kid already making a fake narrative of his life or her life when she's 8 years old, this is a problem. You need to stop. You need to stop. I'm seeing it so much, and it's almost impossible to stop. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you believe that alcohol or drugs is an addiction to where it becomes a disease, some people believe that, and that's okay. The reason why some people believe that is because you can do an MRI of the brain, and you can actually see that this is an addictive brain. It's an addiction brain. Things change. We can all agree on that. Well, then let me try to move you slightly more over so you can understand. When you take a young child in front of a screen and things are moving like this fast, everything is instant gratification, and it becomes a dopamine hit. They want to see this, they want to see that, they want to see that. And it's quick, quick, quick. By the time you're 7, 8 years old, you already have an addiction. Now, somebody might say, well, it's only an addiction to computers. It's an addiction to Facebook. It's an addiction to your social media. True, except the fact that if you MRI their brain, there's no difference between that and heroin. Now we got a problem. Now we have a big problem because no learning is getting done. Real learning. The social skills are about zero. We're running into huge problems. So you already have, by 7 or 8 years old, which, by the way, most people in the field will tell you that your personality is basically set by the time you're 7. So if I have a 7-year-old that knows nothing other than quick stimulation, is this person going to be good at anything? Right? Like, if you have an addictive brain by the time you're 7 and you need this to be quick, and let's say you need to, Heidi, to be a hairdresser, how many years of training and study did it take you to be good?
A lot of years, probably. I'm still learning.
If you're 7 or 8 years old and
I
you already
still
have an
learn.
addictive brain and you're only built for instant gratification, what are the chances of you taking the 10 to 15 years to be a master at what you do?
But
John, go ahead.
I agree with that.
Yes.
However, that doesn't mean that you have to continue that way.
I
That you
agree.
can make a conscious choice to and that's what most of us do growing up, because when we're kids, you know, we are pretty damn self-centered and it's all about us and hooray for me and to hell with you and blah blah blah. But we learn and we make choices along the way that, hey, this might be a better way to go.
Right.
Because I'll get a better, you know, I agree with you 100% on the instant gratification. Our entire society is based on that.
Right. True.
And I think I told you this once before, Netflix.
Yeah.
One of the best comments on social media is on a show on Netflix called Black Mirror. And it's the season 3, episode 1. It nails it absolutely perfectly what's going on in this country. So
I get that much.
All right.
yeah, no, you have to, if yeah, you'll sit there and you'll just go, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
I'll watch that.
And now it's back to the Rise Above show with Joe and Heidi.
But my thing is how do you how do you change
Absolutely.
what's going on? Because like we're talking about kids right now.
Yeah.
And I have to say that most kids, you have to be 18 years old to be on Facebook. So it started out with MySpace for the kids. That's where the whole social media thing started out years ago, was MySpace, and then, you know, of course they went from MySpace to Facebook, but, you know, even then, you got kids that are under 18 setting up MySpace, thinks all they gotta do is say they're 18, it's no biggie. But the fact of the matter is that if you have adults in a mindset that believe that there's no responsibility on their end, or that they believe that Facebook is not addicting, that Facebook doesn't affect your quality of life. I mean, I have clients that come in the salon and they don't, most of my clients interact with me, but I'll have clients that come in and between the cell phone being up to their ear, I'm trying to have either a conversation or I'm trying to, even as far as we have to go wash your hair now, it's time to wash your hair. They can't get off the phone. Wait. They'll be on Facebook. Wait a minute. What happened to the day when you respected, you know, the professional? Excuse me, but I'm following the clock right now. I have to stay on time. So I want to say that, you know, as kids, they model what they see. So if you've got
Absolutely.
adults walking around we could walk out there right now and I guarantee you we'd find people standing on their phones. I mean, I know we're the adults and we have the upper hand. My dad used to say, I'm the adult, I do what I do and you do what I say. That kind of thing. But it's a lot easier when you're trying to raise a kid or you're modeling for a kid to say, you know, Facebook isn't the most important thing. Get out there and play with your friends. Get off the computer. When they see their parents on the phone, they see their parents on the games, those Candy Crush things now that everybody's doing. I mean, it's addicting. I mean, I would have to say.
Absolutely. No, they've proven that. Like, they need to prove it more, right, until it gets out into the public. Let's just say, it's difficult for me because I know and I see it and I get it. But the problem is that when you start having studies that show you that it actually changes the networking of your brain. I had this talk today in supervision with a bunch of other counselors, and it was like, okay, I have to be an electrician now when I'm as a therapist if you're working with young people, because I literally, well, not totally literally, but I'm somewhat literally rewiring a child's brain. And how do you do that? Well, unfortunately or fortunately, it goes back. No, electroshock therapy. No, but here's the cool thing about it: we're losing our basic instinct. If you want to rewire the brain, you got to go back to the beginning. You have to be tactile. You have to have the physicality of things, of learning. You have to give kids the openness to study on their own and to learn and to be creative. You know, it's interesting. I myself, I love like Google. You know, you put it in, you get quick information. It's really great. But here's the thing. I'm 51 years old. I've read thousands of books in my life, and I've written. So what happens is that I can look at information and say, well, that's nice, and I could put it together with something else, and I know where to look for information, and then I can extrapolate that and come up with something new. If you're very young and you just constantly press a button for information, you become a robotic drone. There is no creativity in your life at all. So what happens is you just become this person that is just a manifestation of everybody else in the world and not you. You know, you're just hollowed out. Just as a quick example, you say, well, that's not true. And what I would say to you is, let's look at the pudding, shall we? That's where the proof is. Let's see how our culture has moved forward. And this is just a quick little run through. We could spend weeks on this, actually. But again, I know some of this is up for interpretation. That's true. I'm not going to tell you it's all fact. But let's take a look at what the whole social media and this Googling thing, how has it affected our brains? Well, we know from MRIs what it does. Let's see the actual work. What has been done, say, since the last 17 years, since 2000 or so? Well, we're on psychotropic meds. 10% of us have PTSD. Many of us, about 25%, are talking about depression and anxiety. Okay, there's other factors in there, but this is some. Part of it is the lack of human connection. As human beings, we need to be attached to humans, not attached to a number that pops up on a screen and says, oh, John liked my video. That's not enough. I have to shake John's hand when I come into a room. That's human connection. Let's look at some other things. I'll go over this real quick. Let's take a look at music in the last 17 years. Let's talk about creativity. You're going to get creative off of nothing, right? Because you press a button and get information, but almost every great philosopher since the beginning of time will tell you what I'm going to tell you right now. If you want to rise above, you want to be intelligent, you want to find out who you really are, you need to be alone with your thoughts. You cannot sit there and care what Joe Peroni thinks and get information just from me. You can't sit there and go, oh, I wonder what Heidi thinks about this. And look, you need to be alone. You need to think. Who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? Let's look at our music. Music sucks now. And it's not just because it's a personal preference. I'm talking about artistic ability. Who is playing? I've got a friend named Alan. I'll say his name because he's been on the show a bunch of times. Alan Childs. Listen, this guy is amazing. He's been playing and perfecting his craft for his whole life. If you grow up in this computer culture, I bet you don't last 2 years of heavy practice because you want it now. You're going to set up a computer to make a little beat box for you. You are not going to study like him. You are not going to break your back like him. You are not going to eat a hand sandwich, with no meat, just a little bit of bread, just because you want to make it in this world, and you're going to break your back until you do. You're not going to do that. I haven't seen it. Music in the 70s, the start of heavy metal, the start of classic rock. We had Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, we had The Who. The Beatles broke up in 70, but then we had all their solo projects. You had progressive rock started in the 70s. You had punk rock started in the 70s. You had all those love type songs, ABBA, you name it. And by the way, these things didn't really exist before. So what I'm saying is, it's the creativity. There's like 10 different styles of music that started just in the 70s, you could say. I know it was based off of blues, I get that. You had singer-songwriters, James Taylor, Harry Chapin, keep going on. And of course, the one that it's known for also, disco. Like, even if I didn't like disco, you know what? I hated disco when it came out, and I do, but you know what? I listen to it now. I heard it the other day because my mom really liked Barry Gibb. Here's the thing about disco, I have to admit. They can sing. There was no auto-tune. I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't appreciate it in the 70s. You know why? Because everybody was amazing in the 70s. Everybody was pretty amazing in the 60s too. The more you just put in all of the technology, but you don't put the work underneath it, you have nothing. Let's go to movies real quick. Golden age of movies. One of them was 1930s. Let's not talk about that. Doesn't fit the show. But 1970s, again, another golden age. Again, artistic ability. Let's go to what I love, bodybuilding. The artistic part, they had bodybuilders in art houses then. It was considered to be actual major art. Arnold Schwarzenegger came out of the 70s. You know, and by the way, boxing is another one. Golden age of boxing. People actually tried really hard. They didn't shave their head, get some tattoos, and then join the UFC thing, and then they have 3 fights and they think they're pros. That's the way it happens now. There's thousands of fighters. Way back when, to be in the top 10, you had to be amazing. Now anybody can get a fight. You know, I could probably fight if I felt like it. The golden age of TV, the golden age of all these things have died. They've died. It's sad. And the thing is, millennials and stuff like this, it doesn't matter to them because they've never experienced it, so they don't even know how bad it actually is. They walk around like drones, and the thing is, what to do? Well, first of all, we have to admit that there's a problem, and that's the first part. You have to admit we've gained a lot with technology. We have. But what have we lost? And can they work with together? That's what I would say. We can put it together. Just a quick little thing. I know we have only about a minute or so. You want some creativity? Here's just a short list. 1970s inventions. You ready? The first personal computer, 1970. First cell phone, 1970. Microwave, VCR, email, first video game, genetic engineering, inkjet printer, MRI scanners, the artificial heart. I looked up inventions in the last 15 years, 17 years, since 2000. You know, there's nothing in there other than a few little technology things in terms of apps and things like that, but we're building off of what we already have. It's not a lot. Where's the creativity? What's the next thing to change lives? And not just to make it easier, you want to make it harder. Like I told you in the beginning, there were bombings, there were hijackings, women were going out for the first time and they were single and they worked hard. Life was hard. My friend John here fought in the Vietnam War. Tell me about hard. It didn't end until 1975. The 70s were hard. We didn't look to make things easy. Strong people who want to rise above don't look for the easy way out. You look for the way out that works best eventually, and usually it's the tough path. Don't avoid that. You want to finish? I think we're done.
Just be tough. Nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy.
Nothing's easy. If it's easy, it's not worth it.
If it's easy, anybody could do it.
There you go.
Good one.
Actually, and that's why people like Facebook and they like also, because everybody can do it now. They've watered it down, and it's actually kind of sad in a way. All right then, this has been the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Peroni.
Heidi Mancini.